Hello, my name is Connor Teams, and I'm here to help you learn the 2019 Lyrical Trumpet Etude for AMEA's All-State auditions. Before we get started with the Etude, you should know that it's very important to have a metronome whenever you're preparing for an audition, or really any time you are practicing. It reinforces the beat and it will keep you honest while you're playing. Also, before working on any music, I highly recommend that you dedicate some time to warm up efficiently on the horn. If you do not warm up before playing, you're going to get tired and chopped out faster, which means you won't be getting the most out of your practice time. If you dedicate the time to have a thoughtful warm-up every day before working on music, I guarantee you will see positive changes in your playing. So if you haven't acquired a metronome or warmed up yet, go ahead and hit the pause button so that you can do that, and then we will get started. Alright, so the first thing we should take note of is the key signature. As you can see, there's only one flat, so that means that we are in the key of F major, which consists of the notes F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, and F. This is one of the 12 major scales you will be required to learn for your audition, and since it is also the key of the etude, the more familiar you are with this scale, the easier it will be to play. I recommend throwing the scale in with your daily warm-up. Every rep helps. The scale should sound like this. Now that we know what key we are in, I'd look up and down the piece to find any accidentals so that they don't surprise you as we get to work. Now we can start tackling the beginning of this piece, measures 1 through 8. The tempo marker at the beginning lets us know that the quarter note equals 66 beats per minute, so it will sound like this when you set your metronome. You'll also notice above the tempo marker it says Andante con espressivo, which means slowly with expression, so you're going to want to play this section with long, full-length notes that connect to each other. This beginning section appears to be all in key, meaning no accidentals, and you start at a nice open mezzo forte. There also aren't very many difficult rhythmic patterns in the beginning either. You have your basic quarter notes, which get the beat. You have your half note, which equals 2 quarter notes or beats. You have your triplet patterns, which can be a little trickier. A triplet is 3 notes that take up the space occupied by 1 quarter note or beat, easily counted like triplet. For example, triplet, 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 triplet. As you can see, I was fitting 3 subdivisions into each beat. There are also 16th notes in this part, which is where there are 4 subdivisions in the space taken up by 1 quarter note or beat. This can be audibly divided into the syllables 1e and a. For example, 1e and a, 2e and a, 3e and a, 4e and a. As you can see, I was fitting 4 subdivisions into each beat. Be mindful of your ties and slurs as well as your breath markings. You never have to go longer than 4 measures without getting a breath marker, so there's really no excuse for making up your own. With that being said, I think you're ready to tackle the beginning of the etude. Most of this is just runs up and down parts of the scale, though you should make note of a few odd leaps such as the minor 6th jump in the 1st and 5th measures, the triplet major 4th leaps in measure 2, and there's a few big leaps seen in measure 7. When you're ready and have gone through those, you should play it and it will sound something like this. Now that we have the beginning down, let's move on to the next section of the etude. Starting in measure 9, we see the words più mosso, which translated means more movement. It's an indication to you, the performer, that this section of the piece is to be played faster than the previous section. That point is more clearly stated with the new tempo marker, where we can see that the quarter note now equals 72 beats per minute. So set your handy dandy metronome to the new tempo and it will sound something like this. In this part of the etude, you start to see accidentals working their way in. Be mindful of those, such as the F sharps, C sharps, B naturals, and A flats. Go ahead and start doing the finger work on some of those now so that they don't come back to haunt you later as you're working through the piece. We should be mindful of the words poco accelerando, written above measure 13, which is telling you that the performer is to speed up just a little. Then the words poco retardando, written over beat 3 of measure 16, which is telling you to slow back down a little. That poco retardando leads you to the A tempo at the downbeat of measure 17, which means you'll resume to the speed at which you were playing before the accelerando or retardando, simply meaning that you'll be playing at 72 beats per minute again. The accelerando and the retardando will be a great time for you to really express yourself throughout the etude, so don't be afraid to exaggerate a little bit. Also, in this section we are introduced to new subdivisions of the beat. We see first the dotted 8/16 note. The dot adds half the value of the note that it's on, so since it's located on top of an 8th note, it extends the value of that note by a 16th note. This could audibly be counted as 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1. We also see sextuplet runs for the first time in this etude. This is where we have 6 subdivisions of the beat. This is where it can get really tricky. I personally prefer to count triplets twice on 8th notes so that I'm able to get 6 even subdivisions of the beat. For example, triplet, 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 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As you can see, it's really hard to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is why I prefer to go triplet, 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 triplet. Dynamically, this part of the piece wants you to get louder as you head into the poco accelerando, and then back off as you get to the a tempo section, which again builds in volume each of the next 4 measures of that section. With all that being said, feel free to pause the video and work on problem areas like the sextuplet runs and the 30-second notes in measure 19, and when it's all done, it should sound something like this. Now we move on to the next and last section that is marked tempo primo, which means that you go back to the original tempo of 66 beats per minute. Here you need to be mindful of the grace notes that are added in this portion of the etude. Be sure to treat them as grace notes and not to make them too long. Also, after all the fast subdividing that you have done, you are going to want to rush those quarter notes. Listen to your metronome and fight this urge. You want to play each note to its full value. Be mindful of your G sharps and B naturals in this section. Dynamically, there is not much contrast in this section. You start out at a mezzo forte and soften up to a mezzo piano in the last 2 beats. Once you start to get it under your fingers, it should sound like this. Now that you've been given the information you need to properly dissect this piece, it is up to you to set yourself up for success. Take the sections of the etude that are proving to be the most difficult and slow them down. Work on them thoughtfully at a pace that you can work with, then speed up as you get more familiar. Remember to always use a metronome. I hope this video helps you to have the best all-state audition possible. Here's a recording of the etude played from top to bottom.